Do you sound like Eeyore when you're talking? Chances are you're not alone, and I was there at one point. When we start speaking in public, a lot of times we tend to talk in a really monotone voice, and we really sound like Eeyore, where we're really boring. And so, in today's video, I'm going to teach you how you can be less monotone in your speaking, so therefore, hopefully, you're a little more engaging. There's other aspects that also go into being engaging and speaking, but today we're going to specifically focus on the monotone portion, because if you don't have this down, unless if you have super valuable information, let's say how to make $1 million in 10 seconds, people are probably going to listen even if you talk like this. So I want to help you learn how to not be monotone, so that way we can then work on next steps in other videos of how to actually be more engaging. But being monotone is something that will take time. I want to preface that here before we really get into the video for you to be able to learn how to not be monotone. It's going to take time. It's going to take practice. And so we can say that's really the first step. The first step being that you have to start practicing. You have to start doing videos. We have these wonderful things called phones, and they've got a front-facing camera. You can simply record a 10-second, 30-second, 5-minute video. However long you want that video to be, you can simply start recording today. And through repetition, you are naturally going to start talking more, and you'll start to see that vocal variety in your voice rather than just being one tone. So number one being just start putting in reps. Number two is actually be interested in what you're talking about. If I was to talk about mathematics and science, Laplace transforms, and other things like that are very sciencey, very mathematicky, I'm not interested in that. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's something that you're interested in, great, go with that. But maybe you're into sports. Maybe you're into movies. Maybe you're into traveling. Start talking about something you're interested in, because when you're interested in something, you are going to naturally have a less monotone voice. Some people just naturally have that. But you have to have something that you're interested in. And again, going with the first step of repetition and talking about something you're interested in, you're going to see that excitement. And this builds this natural muscle for us, just like working out. If I'm doing curls and I'm doing curls with 20-pound weights, 20-pound dumbbells, and at first it's going to be like really hard. But after a while, I'm like, hey, 20 pounds, that's nothing. I can rep out 15, 20, 30 reps. No problem at all. But at first, it was a struggle just to get 5. And it's the same thing with being monotone. Once you start to put in the reps and you start talking about something that you're excited about, naturally your voice is going to start changing, and you're going to get the repetition in to do that. Because really, being monotone is all about not having the muscle in place to not be monotone. I mean, there's a lot of the mindset there that you have to do as well, but you also have to start getting yourself in those reps of not being monotone and just talking like this, because it's natural just to be able to say and talk like this, because it is more relaxing than me talking like this, and I'm projecting my voice a little bit more, and it's a little bit higher pitch. Yes, I get a little more of a rumble, grumble, whatever, in my tone. When I speak more monotone, it's a deeper voice, so maybe more masculine at that point, but I raise it up a little bit to make it a little bit more engaging, a little bit less monotone for me. But through talking about things exciting will help you there. Number 3 would then be to actually focus on some of these things. So how do you start focusing on that? You'll notice for me, naturally, I can emphasize words, and I will raise and lower my voice, and you even noticing how I go into monotone, and then I get really excited again, and my voice goes up, and then it comes back down to normal level. I'm speeding up the words that I'm saying, as well as I'm slowing down as I say the words also. So I'm speeding up my sentences, I'm slowing down my sentences. expanding and contracting. So all these different things to help me not be monotone. Now that's going to be here in another step, but the first thing that you need to do is start focusing in on certain words. So part of not being monotone is to have a pause in your sentence. And maybe it's not literally in the middle of a sentence. I just put that pause there because I literally said pause. But as you're trying to emphasize something, this is a very important point. Or I want to make an important point to you today. Those are things that you can make a pause, which will help with the monotony. Because like Eeyore, he just stretched out every sentence and they just kind of flowed together and there was no break in anything and it just kind of kept going on and on and on. So having that pause will allow for that break, which will break some of that monotoneness of your speech. But also emphasizing key words. You might have noticed there I said also, or emphasizing. You want to emphasize some of the key words that you want to share with your audience, something that is important. So if this is an important topic to talk about, then I want to make sure that I emphasize those key words. And you might not literally do it every other word like that, and you really shouldn't. Depends. I won't say it's 100%, don't do it that way. But for the most part, you're not going to every other sentence do that. So emphasizing and putting pauses in will help to break up the monotony or the monotonous tone that you have in your speaking. And then number four would be to be familiar with the content that you're going to talk about. Know what it is that you are actually going to say. If you don't know what you're going to say, it's hard to put that emphasis. It's hard to have that pause. And so it really comes back to the very first step of getting the reps in, but now we're looking more into, I have a speech prepared, and how do I make myself not more monotone or make myself less monotone? So what you can do there is, as you're practicing, focus on the words that are the key words for you. Focus on points where you can create a little emphasis with that pause or emphasizing a word like I just did saying emphasis. And then again, I just did it again. And there with again. So I'm not going to keep doing this. This is a huge cycle. It's just going to keep happening. But that is something that you can do as you're practicing getting those reps in, is find places where you can actually do the emphasis there. And then the fifth thing, which isn't necessarily the voice itself, but as you've probably noticed, I'm moving my hands. I'm doing these different gestures. I just said voice itself. It's expanded and contracted kind of thing. Using your hands, using your body will also help break some of that monotony, because now you're not just standing there, or if you're on video as a figurehead just looking, or if you're on stage, you're not looking like a statue. So we want to make sure that we're actually moving our hands. If we're not on video, obviously if I walked off the video, it'd be kind of awkward. I don't know if I actually made it all the way off, but whatever. You get the point. If I walked off the video, it'd be kind of weird. On stage, and it's the same thing for on stage. So it's weird if you're on video and you walk off camera still talking. It's weird if you're on stage and you literally stand still like a statue. So on camera, make sure that you're using a lot more hand gestures, and you're probably going to use about the same amount or maybe even more on stage. But when you're on stage, also make sure you're looking around the audience, because you want to make eye contact with different people. And so you're using hand gestures. You're utilizing that stage that you have at that time. But use those hand gestures will be the fifth thing that I would do to help you break the monotony or that monotone voice that you have in your speech.